This is American history for Monday, February the 8th. Well, Wilson had campaigned on a promise to end trusts, and the Democratic Congress is going to pass the Clayton Antitrust Act. This basically says that all trusts are illegal. The only trusts that are allowed are trusts that are created by Congress. Now, today there are very few. We have certain farm groups, certain unions, and certain sporting organizations like the NFL. Wilson's administration is going to create the Federal Trade Commission. Now, the Federal Trade Commission has power to regulate people who buy and sell stocks, people who buy and sell bonds. Finally, the Wilson administration is going to call for shorter working hours. We'll go to a 5-day week, 10 hours a day, establishment of workmen's compensation, an ending of child labor, and a loan authority for farmers. This is where farmers can borrow money to buy seeds for crops. The reason why Wilson is never given a whole lot of credit for his administration is because of his foreign policy. Now, Wilson brought idealism with him to his foreign policy. He disagreed with Roosevelt and Taft's use of force and money to impose their will on the countries of Latin America. Unfortunately for Wilson, he found that as president, he too would have to use the military. Wilson's foreign policy became known as the missionary philosophy. He said that he wanted to spread democracy and the Christian faith throughout Latin America. Now, of course, Latin America is overwhelmingly Catholic. So I'm assuming that the Christian philosophy Wilson wants to spread would be that of the Protestant philosophy. Spreading democracy would imply that the United States felt that there were too many dictators. Wilson's idealism got him in trouble with tolls for the Panama Canal. Now, the Panama Canal had been built during the Roosevelt and Taft administration and completed under Mr. Wilson. Congress decided that American ships would not have to pay tolls because America had built the Panama Canal. Well, this is going to anger many European countries. They said this was violation of treaties that had been signed. Wilson agreed that United States ships should have to pay tolls. This is going to anger American businessmen. But this was sort of the hors d'oeuvre for what really got Wilson in trouble. For the past 30 years, Mexico had been led by Porfirio Diaz. And Diaz had made it his mission to encourage American businesses to invest in Mexico. American businesses had built factories. American businesses had put in money to harvest raw materials. All totaled, we're looking at about $1 billion. But in 1912, the same year that Wilson was elected president, Diaz is going to be overthrown. He's going to be overthrown by Oscar Madero. Now, Madero himself is going to be overthrown and killed by Victoria Huerta. This is a picture of Huerta here. Now, Wilson saw this as pretty much commonplace in Latin America, and he was opposed to this. When Mexican representatives of the Huerta government came to give their credentials to Wilson, Wilson refused to accept them. This is an international incident in the making. At about the same time, American sailors were on leave in the Cuban port of Veracruz. Now, the American sailors are going to do what American sailors often do. They are going to go into bars. They are going to drink a lot. They're going to proposition women. They're going to get their face slapped, and then they're going to start fights. Well, when this happens, the American sailors are going to be arrested and thrown into the Veracruz jail. Now, normally, the captain of the ship would go to the jail. He would ask, what is the bail? The bail would be given, and the sailors would go back to their ship. No harm, no foul. But in this particular case, Huerta's government said no. The American sailors were going to be bound over for trial. To garner respect for our flag, President Wilson is going to order the commander of the American ships, Admiral Mayo, to shell Veracruz. Now, of course, this is an act of war, and this is going to cause a military dilemma. Is the United States and Mexico at war for a second time in our history? To avert a war, Argentina, Brazil, and Chile will intervene. They become known as the ABC countries. The idea was for the United States and Mexico to meet on a neutral site. The United States agreed, but Mexico did not. Mexican President Huerta threatened to nationalize all American businesses. This is where the Mexican government would take over all of the American businesses. This would cause a major rift with the United States. Well, the United States had options, and one of the options was to create a revolution. Now, this is Vincencio Carranza, and Carranza was supported by American businesses. Now, Carranza is going to create an army to overthrow Huerta, but his army is not big enough. He needs allies. Carranza is going to be opposed by Francisco Pancho Villa, Alvarado Obregon, and this is Obregon in the picture, and Emilio Zapata. Now, these three did not get along with Carranza, but they understood that if they did get along with Carranza, they could overthrow Huerta. Carranza was able to consolidate power in central Mexico, but he was weak in the south part of Mexico and weak in the north. Francisco Pancho Villa believes that he has been overlooked by the Americans in the distribution of guns, and Pancho Villa will raid the United States and the states of New Mexico and Arizona. Pancho Villa is the gentleman that is in the middle. The American President Wilson believes that this is an act of war. Wilson is going to summon the head of the cavalry, John Blackjack Pershing, to go into Mexico and destroy Villa's forces. But this is going to put Carranza, who by this time has overthrown Huerta, into a difficult spot. If Carranza does nothing, then he is being a lackey to the Americans. So Carranza feels obligated to send troops into the northern part of Mexico to protect a former rival, Pancho Villa. Pershing and his forces will battle Carranza. They will battle Villa. It appeared as if Villa would never be captured, and by this time World War I had begun in Europe. Pershing's troops are withdrawn, and they will go back to the United States in preparation for going over to France and fighting in the war. In time, Zapata and Villa will be assassinated. Carranza will be forced to resign, and Obregon will be elected president of Mexico. Obregon will send representatives to Washington, D.C., and the president will accept these representatives. The Mexican and United States relationships have always been tenuous until the administration of Franklin Roosevelt. And Franklin Roosevelt is going to come up with a plan that will bring peace to our two countries. All American presidents until Donald Trump have followed Roosevelt's policy. Now, how President Biden will do will be up to, I guess, President Biden. Well, tomorrow we're going to look at the war in Europe, or what we will begin calling World War I.